it's Brianna for Triumphant Tuesdays. This week we're starting a new rotation and we're going to be talking about bravery. And we're all going to define it, and we're going to give an example of how we were brave and how we overcame that struggle and what we think about bravery in general. I think being brave is doing something that terrifies you anyway when the action is going to benefit you. So if something's really scary and you do it because an action is going to benefit you, then you're being brave. And this is where it gets scary for me. I'm actually going to do something really brave. I was trying to think about in life. I'm 29 years old, so in the past 29 years, what has scared me the most and what I consider to be brave. And I've always known this, but I've never talked about it. And a lot of you probably think it's my eating disorder, that maybe overcoming my eating disorder was the bravest thing I ever did. Or dealing with my cerebral palsy, although it relates to the experience I'm going to talk about, is the bravest thing I ever did. Nope, it's not. What I'm going to talk about today is something that happened when I was 7 years old, and I'm scared to talk about it because I don't know how I'll feel about it because I've never have talked about it. And I don't know how you guys are going to react. I don't know if you're going to judge me, and I don't know what's going to happen. And usually when I make videos, I make what do you call those things? I make a list of stuff I want to talk about, and I know the video is going to start one way, and middle is going to be like this, and it's going to end like this, and I know where I'm going with it. This one, I don't know where I'm going with it. So I think I was the bravest when I was 7, and I had to have surgery for my cerebral palsy. I didn't have to. It was a choice, which is what made it so brave, and it's a choice my parents largely let me make. They wanted me to, but had I not wanted to do it, they may have been okay with that. But I do remember having conversations with them about this surgery. And, I mean, it's a really serious one. They have to, cut into your back and cut nerves, and you end up in the hospital for 2 weeks and teach you to walk again. And it's really painful, as you guys can probably imagine. But it wasn't the after part that was scary. What was scary is when I was going to sleep for it. I'm very strong, and I'm a fighter. And because of my experiences with CP and the amount of medical attention I had to have when I was younger, I'm not the most medically compliant person, to say the least. Sometimes I don't want to do what the nurses tell me, and that's just kind of how I am. But I'm very brave and very stubborn. But what was hardest for me about this experience was actually trying to go to sleep and saying goodbye to my mom. My mom said that it took the nurses 45 minutes to make me go to sleep because I kept fighting them. I kept, taking the anesthesia mask off, hitting them, screaming, whatever. And I just got tired of doing that. So eventually I fell asleep, but I don't know if I'm doing this experience justice by explaining it, but there's just no... Terrified does not explain it. It was me. It was being in a horror movie and falling asleep and watching my mom watch me, and they let her in, and I just remember feeling like I was going to die and that there was no way out and that I couldn't do this, but at that time it was too late to back out. I don't think my mom was going to let me not do it. Oh, I'm so itchy when I make videos. Hate that. But I just didn't, my mom wasn't going to let me not do it, and I just remember crying and screaming and praying. And I don't know if you guys know this song. Oh gosh, I'm so nervous. What's the name of that song? Prince of Peace by Michael W. Smith. And I know some of you guys aren't Christian, and that's okay. But it's one of my favorite songs, and if you want to, you can look it up. And it echoes, and I was so scared that I was Mom, I forgot the words to Prince of Peace. And she's no, you didn't. And she started singing it with me. And I love singing so much. So that really helped me, but it was just so terrifying to have to go to sleep and not knowing what was going to happen and say goodbye to my mom. And just, I didn't know whether I was going to wake up. I'd had surgeries when I was littler, but not surgeries that I remember. This is the only one I remember. And I just didn't know that I was going to wake up, and I was just so scared. And, you know, the memory's not perfect for me because it happened 22 years ago. And so it's really hard for me to talk about because I've never talked about it before. But I hope you get the gist of it, that it was really, really scary for me. And that's, to me, when I was most brave, because I did something I was absolutely terrified of because I knew that the action was going to benefit me. And we can all do that. We can all be brave and face those things that scare us. And I don't know whether I did a good enough job explaining the story or whether it helped you or not, but it was really helpful for me to at least talk about that a little bit because I've never talked about it, and that's why it's so hard for me. I've never said that I was scared of that, and I think a couple other reasons why is, you know, when you're that little, I've always had a good vocabulary. I've always been very articulate. I've always been willing to talk about things. But when you're that little, you don't have the vocabulary to explain like what's going through your head. Like, I didn't have the vocabulary to be like, Mom, I'm scared of dying. I'm scared of everything. And I don't know exactly what I was necessarily scared of to this day, but I never talked about it. And I think once I had the vocabulary to talk about it several years later, probably when I was 15, 16, something like that, I felt like it had been too long ago. Like, it wasn't relevant anymore. That's another thing I want to say. Like, trauma is trauma. It doesn't matter when it happened. If you want to talk about it, you always can. And it looks like I'll be talking about this more in therapy. But, yeah, I'm going to have my therapist watch this one. But, yeah, so I, like, did something I was really scared of and got through it. And we can all do that. Another thing I'm really scared of is walking. Literally. I don't trust that my body's going to keep me safe because I have cerebral palsy. I don't trust it at all. And that's something that started my eating disorder. But yeah, I don't trust it. But the only thing that keeps me walking every day is knowing that I did it before and I didn't fall. Well, sometimes I fall, but I don't fall every day. And I hardly ever get seriously injured. But that's what helps me do it. And knowing that that action is going to benefit me here again. Like, if I didn't walk, there'd be so many opportunities that I couldn't have in life. And that's not saying anything negative about people that are in wheelchairs, but walking does afford you opportunity. So I do it every day, even though I'm scared of it, because it gives me the opportunity to be brave, and it gives me the opportunity to experience my life in a way that I wouldn't be able to otherwise. So I'm just encouraging you guys to do what scares you, because there's so much out there. And sometimes we have fear for a reason. Like, I definitely feared the surgery, and there's a reason for that, like I already said. But we have to decide that the benefit is greater than the fear itself, and overcoming fear can be very important in recovery. I'm going to go visit Nikki, and I've never said this before on YouTube either, but I want to get a tattoo of the quote I already told you guys about. They fall, and falling they're given wings, because walking gives me opportunities in life, and I fall a lot. So I want to get that on my rib cage, so on the left side. So thumbs up this video if you think that's a good idea. So just do things that scare you. I mean, I just told you about this story that I've never talked about in my life, and I'm really scared of that. So just know that it'll be okay. I think a lot of people fear things because they're afraid of failing at them. But basically, I see like what we perceive as failure as a step towards success. Like I said before, most of the things that we've learned how to do, we've failed at or watched other people fail at. But no one does everything perfectly, so you're going to fail. So if you look at it as what you perceive to be a failure, like if I'm walking around and I fall, I could perceive that as failing. But usually when I fall, like I learn how to do something differently so I don't fall the next time. So therefore it's a step towards me being successful. So, and I think that's one of the things you have to overcome, is you have to be like, I'm afraid of this because I might fail. But if you don't see failure as a negative thing, or maybe you don't say it's failure, I don't like to use that word at all, but our mistakes and things that we don't do perfectly are ways that we can become more successful. There are steps towards being successful. So challenge you guys to do something that scares you, no matter what it is. And I'm really proud of you guys for watching this and for being here with me and just fighting for recovery. And I'm really proud of myself for sharing this story, even though it might not have made sense to you guys. Like, this is the first time I've ever talked about it. So yeah, do something that scares you for me, and if you want, you can leave a comment of what you did. That was brave. So be brave this week and always. I love you guys. See you soon.